bonding means that I want to love this God, but I'm so terrified of this God. We have no one to show us unconditional love. Even our parents don't have the ability to give us unconditional love because they're healing their own trauma bonds.
I don't know how any of this works because I couldn't talk about it before. I couldn't look into it. I couldn't have a healthy transition. You go from nothing, nothing, nothing to boom, you can have everything now.
And they want to be the closest they can to God. So they want to mimic that as much as possible. So what do they do for their children? They start to teach their children, love me, but fear me.
I just followed everything. I just trusted my parents. I trusted and I followed all the rules. I was a black and white thinker. And so it was just, if God says this in this religion, I have to do it. I can't pick and choose and cherry pick. So I was a good girl. I followed all the rules.
In your inner world, like, how did you manage that within you? Like, how much fear did show up because of that? Where was there shame? Was there guilt? Was there a lot of confusion?
Why are we not talking about this? Why are we not questioning this? So that's my experience with trauma bonding with God. Have you ever felt like your relationship with God is filled with pain or confusion? Like you're caught in a cycle of guilt, fear, or feeling unworthy? What if healing from the trauma bond with God is possible? In today's video, we're diving into the raw, honest journey of rebuilding trust and finding peace in your spiritual life. If you've ever questioned your relationship with God, share your story below. Let's explore how to heal together. Okay, Rain, what does this even mean to have a trauma bond with God? Yeah, what does that even mean? And can we have a trauma bond with God?
Yes, actually, yes. Trauma bond with God is pretty intense. I think most of the planet has a trauma bond with God or has left God because of the trauma bond. So, first, I would like to just read out what trauma bonding means for those who don't know. So, I asked ChatGPT, which Mel actually adores, and I started to adore ChatGPT due to Mel. So, I'll read a quick idea of what trauma bonding means. So, trauma bonding is a deep emotional attachment that forms between a victim and their abuser, often as a result of cycles of abuse and intermittent positive reinforcement. It occurs in abusive relationships where the victim experiences periods of cruelty or manipulation, followed by brief moments of affection, kindness, or attention from the abuser. These moments of care or perceived love can cause the victim to feel a strong attachment, making it difficult to leave the relationship despite the harm being caused. Trauma bonds are common in abusive romantic relationships, but they can also form in other situations, such as toxic friendships, relationships, workspaces. So, this is the idea of what a trauma bonding means. It means that the same person will trauma bond, basically will be cruel to Mel, tell her something painful, and at the same time, I'm the same person who will make her feel good. So I'm basically the cause of pain and at the same time the cause of her joy, but I'm the same person. So she goes nowhere but me. So trauma bonding with God looks similar to that. Now, especially if you've been in religions. So in religions, God is perceived as the one that offers you love, takes care of you, will send you off to heaven, will give you a lot of prosperity in your life. However, within the same breath, God is going to put you in hell. God is going to give you tribulations. God is going to punish you. God, you need to fear God. God is there for you to be of service to God all the time. This is the same God that's offering the love and the beauty and the affection and the abundance and heaven. And this exact God is the one who's going to punish you and harm you and cause you pain and put you through tribulations and mayhem and suffering on this planet. So, this is what trauma bonding looks like. Now, trauma bonding in the sense with God is a very deep wound that we all as humanity have created on the planet and have lived by. Why? Because being in the state of fear consistently and not knowing how much am I adored, it doesn't seem unconditional love that I'm receiving from God. It seems very conditional. If I'm a good person, if I do this, if I follow the 10 commandments, or if I follow these rules for me to go to heaven. And it's always afterwards. You will get the reward in some other way. You're not going to receive it in the here and now. But in the here and now, you might receive trinklets of it. You might be like, oh, one day you're happy, or for an hour you're happy. But and also if you notice in religions, if you're happy, don't get too happy because some tribulation will come along. Now, trauma bonding in all the books of religions will tell you a story and a tale. They will always share with you a story and a tale of one of the prophets, somehow, some way, this really great person, but wanted nothing other than to be like, to trust in God, to believe in one God, to do all that stuff. And his life, it's a lot of him, there are hardly any she, but his life is basically hell on earth. He's going through crazy stuff all the time. People hate him. I don't know, does what to him, does things to him. Some of them have like they have to kill their kid or they fire their peers or it's mayhem until the very end. Then finally they find their inner peace. And so trauma bonding means that I want to love this God, but I'm so terrified of this God. I want to love Mel, but I'm so afraid of Mel because Mel, in a flip of a finger, can change her attitude towards me. And I will never know why Mel stopped liking me or has decided I go to hell or heaven. I will never know because I don't know. Is it a test? Is this good thing that just happened to me really good, or is this good thing a test? Am I being tested on how worthy I am to have this good thing or not? So this is trauma bonding. This is where we become so confused about our worth on this planet. We have no one to show us unconditional love. Even our parents don't have the ability to give us unconditional love because they're healing their own trauma bonds, right? So they start to follow the doctrines of any religion that is given to them, which is very trauma bonding state. And they want to be the closest they can to God, okay, to the religion God, which is not the real God, to the religion God. So they want to mimic that as much as possible. So what do they do for their children? They start to teach their children, love me, but fear me, right? Every parent wants their kids to fear them and to love them at the same time. So they try to mimic what they have been taught the whole time through religion, that this is what God is. So if God's like that, then me as a parent, I have to be that too. There is no such thing as unconditional love. So we have that in our system. Conditional love doesn't exist because through God and religion, it's very conditioned. So this is just information I received. I feel deeply that it would be very, very, very important because me and Mel come from two different religions, but it doesn't mean it doesn't fall into the same base of the same, what is it called? Structure. It's got the same structure, the horror movie and the go to heaven and have blissful times there and traditions and right and wrong and black and white. And you can never like, at the same time, you have to go against everybody. Every religion says my religion is right. Follow mine. Every other religion is wrong. Everyone else is going to hell but you, right? So I want to turn it over now to just so you have examples of what we're talking about. So this can digest in you so you can be more free. I would like Mel to share her experience with her religion and this trauma bonding, how it affected her, how she perceived this fake God. And then I can speak about my personal experience. And then maybe, I don't know, we'll go from there. So, Mel, how was your personal experience with your trauma bond with your God?
Yeah. So with mine, it really was, I started to open my eyes. At first, I just followed everything. I just trusted my parents. I trusted and I followed all the rules. I was a black and white thinker. And so it was just, if God says this in this religion, I have to do it. I can't pick and choose and cherry pick. So I was a good girl. I followed all the rules. You don't swear. You don't drink coffee. You don't watch rated R movies. You don't mess around with guys. Like I made sure to follow all of the rules, because if it really was from God, straight from source, if that's what they're saying, then I have to follow and honor all of them. Again, I can't cherry pick and pick and choose. So it was very kind of an unhealthy way to go into it of just blind trust whatever they say. And as I started having experiences and then getting married and realizing like, oh my gosh, I like, you can't have sex till you're married, and then all of a sudden you can. It's like it wasn't a healthy relationship. It was like, oh my gosh, there's so much shame around it. Like, oh my gosh, I'm showing my body for the first time. And I don't know how any of this works because I couldn't talk about it before. I couldn't look into it. I couldn't have a healthy transition. You go from nothing, nothing, nothing to boom, you can have everything now. So even just that one example was like, okay, that wasn't healthy. That didn't seem like God had a good system of what that should look like, a healthy sex life in marriage. That, like, that's a really cool part of life, a way to connect with your partner in an emotional, deep way, you know? And so I'm like, okay, that's not healthy. And then just all sorts of things, the way they talk about people, the way it's like we're othering other people, the way that women in this religion, like, they're not the top of it. They don't really have a say. They are, you know, it was polygamy before, which the religion stopped doing, but they talk about it in the afterlife, how the men will have multiple wives. I'm like, what woman would choose into that and want that? I'm just like, well, that's not fair. All I have to do is put myself in these shoes, you know, of like, well, it just sounds like she's a trophy or she's a possession. And it's like, to this creation, it's like, well, does anyone ask the woman, hey, woman, would you like to have a man that has 20 other wives or 30 other wives and see them less and have less time with them and less connection with them? Like, that just sounds like a red flag right there. Why are we not talking about this? Why are we not questioning this? This is wrong to me. But the answer always was, well, we don't understand now. Like, if someone doesn't have an answer, but in the afterlife, we'll know. Or, oh, they're doing it to, you know, there was lots of widows. And so that's why the men had to have multiple women. I'm like, no, there's people coming and dying all the time. There's people that leave a marriage and then they're available and they're single. Like, there's just so many things. If you're able to slow down and start questioning and being like, is that what a loving God would do? Would I do that for my kid? Would I tell my daughter, oh, you're a multiple wife and you're marrying a man that's 40 years older than you know, and just all these things, where we're spending our time and where we're putting our money. And I'm like, just everything started falling apart and it just didn't feel healthy. It didn't feel good. And they would say how God is unconditional love, but I'm like, but yet everything that the religion is talking about, it isn't. There's all these inequalities with different people, different groups. And I'm like, it just didn't feel of love and it felt fear based. It all was just fear based. Like, you need to fear God, or, you know, even if God gives you all this stuff and he gives you all, blesses you with everything, you know, you owe him. Like, you're always feeling less than. You're feeling less than. You're feeling like it doesn't matter what you do, because even if you do something good, he's going to instantly bless you. And now you're going to be in his debt. Just the language is negative. It just doesn't feel healthy or safe. And I'm like, I would not raise my children this way. And I'm just a human. And I'm like, he's God, the all knowing, all powerful God. And all I know is I'm not inspired by this plan. It feels icky. It feels wrong. It doesn't feel like equality. It doesn't feel love. We're changing terms all the time. We're changing things that done in the temple. We're changing things at church. We're changing, everything keeps changing, but yet they keep saying God is consistent. He is the same as he was then and now and forever. And everything just starts crumbling down when you step back and look at it. And I just have to pay attention to how I feel. I'm like, it just doesn't feel good. And we say, oh, we're the happiest people. Like, well, then why are we on the most depressants, the people in this religion? You know, like, it doesn't make sense. So it's very hypocritical. It's very fear based. And it just doesn't sit right with me. And I feel like it's an old school way. And of course, there's a motive. Whoever created it, there's money and power to be gained from this. And God is not getting it. Why would he want the power and money? He doesn't need it. He has everything, you know? So God to me is just love and acceptance, but they don't talk about that. Trust yourself. Why don't they talk about that in the one and only true religions that God is supposedly having a mouthpiece for? Trust yourself. How do you feel inside? How do you feel when someone talks to you a certain way? How do you feel when you treat people a certain way? Be in your integrity. How do you feel when you lie to people? How do you feel when you're honest with people? How do you feel? Why aren't we talking about that? And so, Rain, the truth is, you're one of the first people that I came to that every time we would have conversations, it wasn't about ego and like about me and put me on a pedestal, because I've been around those people. And it was just every time it was coming back home to you, Mel, you're just forgetting who you are. Look at the gifts in this. And like, you're just a human. And I felt like you have more of this, what feels like pure love that should be the God that I had. That was what I thought was God was, but it all fell apart in my religion. But somehow this gift that you have, this channeling, the way that you're trying to rise above it and you don't want to have the ego and the praise and be on a pedestal, like, you're figuring some of it out. And like, that's why we want to talk about this stuff. That's why I'm connecting with you. That's why I want to create with you, because I'm like, wow, I want to be surrounded by this person that is closer to the true God essence of just love that I've ever met. And so that was my experience. And I didn't find it in religion or men or anything else. And it's just coming back home to myself. And you've been a channel to guide me to that. So that's my experience with trauma bonding with God.
Thank you, Mel. That's so sweet. Thank you. Well, yeah, I love you too. Oh my God, I adore you. I adore you to bits. So Mel was one of like in the last thread of me releasing uh God, which you can look at our previous episode about that. Um, it's called the blah space. Um, Mel was of great value because she had left her religion 9 years ago. I kind of left it 5 years ago, but I still had like some attachments. So in how the what I want to know, Mel, is in your body. Now you know what trauma bonding means. In your body, when you were in the religion, how did trauma bonding feel to you? This punishing God but loving God. Like how did how did it look like in your inner world? Like how did you manage that within you? Like how much fear did show up because of that? Where was there shame? Was there guilt? Where was there a lot of confusion? Like how did that show up for you?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. It was so confusing. And it was like I kept trying to do, I like to use the word mental gymnastics. It's like turning myself in a pretzel to be like, but they said this, so I have to feel this. And it's like, oh, but I can't. But it's like trying to, it didn't match up. Like the mental and the feeling didn't, it wasn't aligned. It was something was off. So like mentally, I kept trying to, okay, they say the reason they did that was this. And it just felt off. It's like my body was rejecting it the whole, like when I started to waken up a little bit, not just totally robotically go through it, yeah, I didn't notice the feeling of disconnect. And the truth was, I was disconnected from my own body. I literally outsourced myself 100%. I was living in other people's space, especially as an empath. So it never crossed my mind. But as I started kind of awakening and realizing things, I started to look at things finally, step back and be like, okay, is this working? Am I happy? All this stuff that they told me, we're the happiest, we're the one and only. Anytime you say you're the one and only true religion or anything, even that's a red flag. Anybody that says that, then it's like, what's the point of listening to anybody else? There's really no point. There's no value or benefit because it's like, well, I already know everything. So you cut off connection with other humans and learning from other cultures and other religions and other things that are out there that could provide really great value in your life. You're cutting that off. That's not healthy. That seems like common sense. Like, that's a bad idea. So, why in the world would a religion connected with God? That's the first thing they say. I'm right and you're wrong. Ew. Ew. I didn't notice that was a red flag before. But it's like, if I can just step back, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't seem like a good structure. So, it was everything they said. It was realizing my body as I was connecting to my body and realizing finally coming home to me through guidance of, well, you came after that, but I obviously was coming back in my own ways. I just started like rejecting it. It didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right. And it didn't match up with, like I said, what they were saying to how I was feeling. I was like, I couldn't do the mental gymnastics anymore. I couldn't. It was just like, no, this is wrong.
Yeah, okay, I totally understand that. I get that. I totally agree because there is a complete disassociation with self. It's 100% true. I mean, I was in it forever. And it's like a complete disassociation. I was very scared of God. I wanted God so much to like approve of me and love me, but I was terrified of God. I had this tremendous fear inside. Didn't show anybody. It lived inside of me. This tremendous fear of God and this deep, deep need for God to love and appreciate me because I sacrificed so much to please this God of this religion. Right. So in this religion is you do this, you pray 5 times a day, you're less than a man, you do this, you feed the poor, isn't it? But it was all very strangely said and mentioned. So it always confused me. Why would God talk about himself in such a entitled narcissistic way? Follow me. I am the God of all gods. Ask me. I am the God that will get you. And it was so confusing. Like if someone knew who they were, why are they announcing it so much all the time? Follow me and my prophets. We are the only ones who know truth. And that's like the messed up part, because that's a brainwashing, right? Like, I'm the only one that has your back. I'm the only one that cares for you. I'm the only one that will ever look out for you. I'm the only one you should ever love. I'm the only one you should worship. And in the same breath, but I'm the one who's going to punish you if you don't follow my rules. I'm the one who's telling you go kill all those people to get into your religion. I'm the one who's telling you, as a woman, I created you to be ashamed of yourself and cover yourself up. I'm the one who said that you're going to go to hell if you don't listen to me. So you've got these two opposing realities, which confused me so much about where do I stand and how do I know when God is happy with me. Obviously, when something good happens, I don't know if that means God is happy with me or is God testing me. It's still confusing. But if something bad happens to me, I don't know, was it my fault? Is this a punishment from God because I must have done something wrong to deserve this? Or is this punishment that I'm receiving a test to see, will I still keep faith in this horrible time? So there's never a clear, basic, I love you no matter what you are, no matter who you are, no matter anything, which is how I started to see, well, I'm feeling this way about my kids. When I had my first kid 11 years ago, I'd be like, but I feel this crazy unconditional love, but I don't feel like ever punishing her, ever hurting her, or ever being like, I wonder if she'll listen to me. I'm going to test her. I'm going to say something really crazy, like, go put your hand in the fire. And then if she does it, I'll be like, okay, she loves me. She trusts me. I'm a great mom. Like, it didn't. And that's how God was kind of talking. So it's confusing for me. Is like, but why would want to? He created me. He took my memory away on a planet I don't know anything about anything. We're just all like walking around trying to figure out why we're here. Okay. There's no truth anywhere. Then he's going to punish me in hell. For what? I don't know. And yet, the same God that says, be kind and loving, is the same exact God that says, go fight against that religion and those people and kill that and get rid of that. And if they don't follow this religion, cut them, imprison them, take them as slaves. I'm like, just saying. So everyone who's not, so then I was in a panic. All the people that I would get to know that were not of my religion, I would love them so deeply. And it would just confuse me. Like, they're going to go to hell. They're going to burn in hell. These beautiful people are going to burn in hell. Let me tell them about my religion so that they can't burn in hell. And that's the mess up. That's the trauma bonding. It's like the same person. It's like you love your father who's a narcissist, and you live your whole life wanting that narcissist to turn one day and appreciate you. And that is never going to happen. And you never know if it will or if it will not happen. So the God that is in religions is a trauma bonding God. It's a bonding to that religion. So it's a fake God. It's not a real God, because the same God that created the trees, that created our hearts, our blood vessels, that created beauty and the skies and the stars and all that wonder that we don't even know the extent of it, cannot be the same man-made God of the religions, where it's all punishing and hell and hurt and pain and hate your neighbor and hate. In religions, they say love your neighbors, but that's such a lie. What if my neighbor is a Buddhist and I'm a Muslim? Can I still love them? Hell no, that's not true, right? What if my neighbor is a Christian? Well, Christians, we're okay. We're of the same domain. You can't from them as a woman, or then you're burning hell. So what's love your neighbors, but then you're really not loving your neighbors? This is what trauma bonding is. It's a constant state of confusion and gaslighting. And that's what we both suffered through deeply and have come out of.
Yeah. So have you been able to refrain from all of this? Like, what's your images of God? Like, I know a lot of people, especially after leaving like a religion, they're just like, I don't even freaking believe God anymore. They throw it all away. They're like, screw it. Nope. Like, I'm an atheist now. I don't believe in any of it. So if you shifted of being like, okay, the God of religion, I don't believe in that, but I do believe there is a God and it is love or a divine creator. Like, different word or same word, how have you shifted? Because you've just been purging this out of you to where it physically affected your body. What is your take on it now after shifting all of that fears out and attachment? How are you feeling now? I guess give us hope. And like when you move through that, because that's a scary thing to go through. That's just like the biggest baby to tackle is like freaking religion and God himself, who created the universe and you and heaven and hell. And like your life and your eternal life depends on this. Like, kind of a big deal to look at. It's scary to look at it in the face. How are you feeling now after moving through that? Where are you at?
Well, I was blessed that my journey looked the way it looked according to my being. So 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, when I decided there's something wrong with this religion, I don't like anything about it. I really don't like the prophet himself. I didn't go deep in. I was just like, I'm rejecting this. But something in my body loves God. Okay. It's something in my body loves creation, divinity. So 5 years ago, so 3.5 years, so 5 years ago, I did that. But then I was like, but what is God? I still have so much fear from God. Like, what if I'm wrong? And then I came across a book called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. And that book just came to me. I've owned that book for over 25 years, never read it, never looked at it once. And 3 years ago, I traveled to Egypt in my mom's library. Lo and behold, that book was there. I pulled it out, I read it, and everything shifted for me. Because what was important for me is, can I build a relationship with God that is fearless? Just a fearless relationship, because everything religion taught was fear. So I read that book 3 years ago, and my relationship with divinity shifted. My relationship with God, not God of religion, a different God, the God that created all this. And I started to name him or her the creator of all, this it entity, the creator of all. So when I came down to it just a few weeks ago, or a month now, and I looked into the religion, and I was hearing what Mel was saying about her religion when I went to visit her in Utah. Her and her husband are sitting and talking. I'm like, this really resembles mine. I didn't want to look into it anymore. I was like, I'm cutting it off. Little did I know that it was still living inside of me. So I took a deeper look, and I gave myself the right to say, what if this is all wrong? And it was scary as hell, but I was so determined. I'm like, I need a better relationship with God, because God to me is creator of all. I can't exist without that creation. And when people leave religion, they either jump into another religion or they jump into atheism, right? But in neither of those cases is that a proper jump. I'm just saying that because at the end of the day, you really want to get to know who your creator is. Because when you are in a planet where you are alone and lonely, and there are lots of times where you're going to lose friends, family members, work, jobs, career, houses, you're going to be losing stuff. The one thing you have to depend on is the creator of all. But if you have a notion of creator of all being conditional love, adores the hell out of you, completely adores you, has no need for you to pray 5 times a day or to dress a certain way or to look a certain way, just loves you the way you are, you're going to be able to move forward with life. That's what was helping me, because 3 years ago I read this book. My relationship with God shifted to one of just, it's very personal. It's my lover, it's my best friend, it's my partner, it's my creator. It's me and that relationship, how we talk to each other. And then religion, I had to completely cut cords with all the fear of, if you leave it, you're going to hell. But I had already built a relationship with divinity in a very different way. So now I feel more free to love and experience divinity. And I hear those pangs of fear show up. They feel like echoes, but I can see them now. I'm like, oh wait, this isn't real. This is from that book. This is from that book. This is from the mouth of this sheikh or this interpreter. This is none of the truth about source. So it takes time to debunk all this, but I really think creating a relationship with divinity outside of religion is key to true freedom and true surrender. This is how you can really surrender to life and divinity and have a friendship. There's another book he has called Friendship with God, which I also highly recommend. So this is what it feels like today. I'm rekindling a relationship and purging out these subconscious beliefs that were nothing but fear. So anytime I'm afraid, I close my eyes and I think, where is it coming from? And it somehow, some way, it is a fear of divinity and a fear of source. Whether it's a fear of death, it's I'm afraid of God. Why? Because of what I've read in those stupid books. Don't mean to call them stupid. I'm sorry, people. You know, I'm sure there's some insights in them, but for me, in the phase I'm in, I'm just like there. So, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, with these episodes, we really just want to try to help you, like, one, give you permission to be able to look within and see what's not working for you. We don't ever want to come in and tell you what's right or wrong, because there's phases of life, and some phases is like, that worked for me. Religion worked for me for a while. I did have a good upbringing and I did have a good life. And maybe it would have been a lot worse if my parents didn't raise me in that. That could have been. I'm open to that. But now I realize that was a stepping stone. And for me, it was a stepping stone to go to something bigger and better and more freedom, more inner peace. And for me, I did have to let my religion go, because that God was so intertwined with all the teachings and everything. And it was like, the truth was that God was just a very hypocritical God, and very unconditional, not unconditional love. He was very conditional. It was like, he will love you. You will get this glory of kingdom if you jump through these hoops and do all these things. So he didn't love me as I was working through my process. He didn't love me, probably the rebellious teenager, which, I mean, I guess I wasn't, but that's the phase to figure out who you are to these seasons and these times of life. And it's like, I didn't have that opportunity in some ways because of fear. I was forced into it. So I didn't get to explore and have some of these phases in life that maybe would have been good for me to explore and try different things out in my exploration phase, where once you're married and have kids, like, things are different. There's a lot more responsibilities. The stakes are higher, like, anyways, like, just anything that's just fear based. I'm just giving you permission to let go of whatever it feels like fear. If you're doing it out of fear, shift it, shift the perspective of, like, what feels peace for you? Ask yourself questions and see, how do you feel? And if it feels like, okay, that feels like a peaceful thought, that feels safe to me. It's about finding safe within your own body, because the world out there, if you look around, there's so much unsafety. There's wars, there's people hurting each other. And it's like, it's going to keep happening until each of us can look within and come home to self and be able to feel that peace within. That's the only way we're going to see it and have it mirror out in the world around us. And it just happens to be, this is one of the topics to find that freedom. So anyway, that's all I have to add on that one. Do you have anything else, Rain? You good on that?
I'm good, sweetie. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for listening to this episode. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the episode so you can see the first ones that come up, like the ones that we have next week, and check out our Buy Me a Coffee account. We have a lot of really great products on that to help you on your self-discovery journey that you guys are on. We've got beautiful jewelry to make you feel beautiful, and we have ebooks and e-guides to support you. And please comment on this. Let us know your thoughts on this. If you're in a religion, if you've thought about some of this stuff before, maybe what some of your key takeaways are. If, just let's talk about this. If you've gone through this as well. And then make sure to watch our next episode. We'll make sure to pin that right here. We'll pin it as well as link it up here. And we'll see you on the next one.